Roger Deakins is the king of cinematography, so whenever he makes a statement about cinematography, it's important to listen. And something he said numerous times about filming a dialogue scene is that he prefers the camera to be between the two subjects because it makes it a little bit more intimate. However, Christopher Doyle, with his cinematography and In the Mood for Love, shows that that doesn't always have to be the case to get a really, really good image. And it also highlights a different kind of emotion. That's something Roger Deakins also talks about. It has to fit the scene and the emotion that you're trying to go for. Today, we're going to take a look at some of the images from In the Mood for Love, see how the framing is helping convey a certain emotion, as well as how the lighting helps convey some of that emotion as well. Let's jump into it. If I quickly flip through these first set of images that I've brought in, you can see the consistency both in the lens type as well as some of the framing. Now, it's important to note that set design and costuming is really going to help elevate the cinematography. But on top of all that, if we kind of strip that away, we can see that there is consistency in the framing, as well as an emotion that's being evoked just from the cinematography alone. By having the camera be layered and hidden behind these layers of set design, we're given the impression that we're spying on these characters. This is in stark contrast to how a dialogue scene might be filmed more traditionally. What you could be losing by filming it like this is some of that emotional intimacy, but the trade-off is that you get this sense that you're peering into their lives from a naturalistic viewer's perspective. You can see in all of these images that I've pulled in, the frame is never clean. You always have this foreground element coming in from the sides, from the top, from the bottom of the frame. And it's kind of hiding the characters and making them feel a little bit closed into the frame, a little bit more claustrophobic. Tighter lenses, anything past like 100 millimeters is going to help emphasize this as well. And you can see throughout all these shots, they're all on longer lenses. I just think it's a unique way of approaching some of these scenes and showing how the characters interact with the world, kind of highlighting the world in the way that the cinematographer's doing here. Just helps it feel a little bit more lived in, a little bit more unique. I really like this approach. Let's look at this shot. It's a little bit different from some of the shots he's pulled in before. I would say this is a bit more standard, kind of like how, a traditional dialogue scene might be filmed, where if the camera were moved a little bit to the right, it would be your traditional shot, reverse shot, over the shoulder dialogue scene. And yet Christopher Doyle is still filling the frame with foreground elements, helping guide your eye to the character, putting a lot of these props in the shot so that the world feels more lived in. It feels a little bit more worn. But another reason I brought up this shot is because I noticed some consistencies in the way that these scenes are lit, where it's either motivated strongly by a practical or it is just a practical. We see in a lot of these scenes, we have a lot of these overhead tungstens, a lot of these overhead fluorescents, and it's giving almost this butterfly lighting. The light is positioned in such a way that it's not fully filling in the entirety of the face, yet you're getting these nice fall off kind of around the cheek and down below the jawline area. So kind of like what you would get with butterfly lighting. And if I flip through these scenes, you can see that that's something that's pretty consistent, making the best of the practicals that would be naturally over these two characters' heads during this dinner scene. So there'd be a light just up here hitting her here. I think it's a nice way to motivate your lighting to make it feel naturalistic while still getting kind of this beautiful fall off and getting some shape on the face. It's a really nice way to still get a pleasant image without it feeling kind of saucy or unnatural. And then the same thing here, especially this character with, the prominent cheekbones. You have that great fall off down here and then kind of a sharp shadow down here. And you can see that maybe they've added a second light because you can see that it's catching in his eye. If I were to punch into this image, you can see it's catching in his eye, so it's not as overhead as it would be kind of naturally. It's positioned a little bit more behind this lady here on the left and then shooting directly at him. And yet it doesn't feel unnatural. It feels like it's part of the scene. It's a really nice way to light it. And the same thing here, if I jump back to this image of her at the dinner table and then back to this one, it's kind of the same idea. You got this light directly above, kind of like butterfly lighting. You're getting that fall off just at the cheeks and then underneath the chin. It's a really nice lighting that still looks naturalistic and can kind of fit into the scene while still having the feel of like an ambient light, a practical. It doesn't feel unnatural in the way that it's used here. And then the same thing here. A lot of use of the same kind of lighting techniques. You do have this hair light in the back that's helping separate them, and it looks great. And potentially you have another light up above, but the fact that it's the same color temperature as what's being hit here, and the fact that you can't see any kind of catch light in his eyes, probably implies it's all being done by one light. So you've got this one a little bit more overhead compared to this, where it's a little bit more frontal. You can see it in the eyes. You can see it catching in the eyes. Compared to this, you don't see it catching in the eyes. It's probably just a little bit more higher. And yet he stands out so prominently without, it feeling unnatural at all. It's tungsten. I think that helps. Typically nighttime scenes, tungsten overhead, makes sense. But the fall off is really nice. Maybe there's some negative fill here, or maybe it's just really close to his face, giving that nice fall off. But either way, a great way to light these scenes, and also an economic way to light the scenes without having to bring in a ton of lights, still getting that pop, and potentially just using one light here. And that's going to be it for the cinematography breakdown of In the Mood for Love. I know this one's a little bit quicker, but I feel like the past couple videos have been going on just a little bit too long. I feel like I can condense the videos and maybe point out just a couple of things, either with composition or with lighting. And I'm still going to be mixing in looking at bad cinematography. I think you can probably learn more looking at bad cinematography than you can looking at good cinematography, and especially comparing bad cinematography with good cinematography all in the same video. So that's probably what I'll be doing next. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed, and thanks for watching.